Welcome back, Reg audience, and we're back with one of your favourite sessions. We know you love this. We're hands-on again with the register. It's the first time we're hands-on in our new studio, actually, so let's see if it works. We've just been plugging everything in. If it doesn't work, we'll still be fine, because we know that we've got plenty of good content for you today, and we know that it's something that you've requested. Today we are looking at Azure Active Directory, and so you want to know who's helping us look at Azure Active Directory, and so that's the most important person that we have here. Welcome back to the Reg Studio, Paul Gregory from QA. Paul.
Hi team, excellent. Thank you very much for having me again.
Yes, and why are we doing Azure Active Directory?
Well, the main reason we're doing Azure Active Directory is it's an underpinning for everything else you might be doing within a Microsoft Cloud structure. So an underpinning technology for Office 365, Exchange Online. So hopefully we'll be able to put some meat on the bone on what's going on under the hood and give people some skills so they can manage that directly.
Now, this is one thing. The register audience did actually request this, didn't they? Because we did say, you know, at the end of the Regcast, I always say, we do more of the things you ask for and less of the things you don't ask for. And everyone rolls their eyes and say, it's rubbish. But actually, this is true. This is something that the Reg audience requested. Why do you think they requested that?
I think it was initially a sort of a strange request, because most people have been managing Active Directory on premise for quite a long time. So when I first sort of saw people want that, I did find it quite a strange request. But then sitting back and looking at it, it is such a key element. People who actually, there's lots of organisations out there which are using Azure Active Directory blindly. And just to actually understand a bit more of what the capabilities are, maybe trying to enable some of the advanced features like multi-factor authentication is more than likely a real need. So I think because it's such an underpinning technology, people just need to make sure that their understanding of it's correct.
Yeah, now, as you might remember if you've been watching these before, and even if you haven't, go back and have a check, not now, but after we finished. As you see, we did an introduction to Microsoft Azure before, where you basically went through more or less everything in an hour. It was it was exhausting for me, let alone for you.
I think you had Matt, didn't you, on that one?
Yeah, yes, that was it. It was Matt, and it was terrific. So go back and have a look at that. So this follows on from that, basically. Now, there is one other thing about Active Directory, Paul, isn't it, that we need to know about this? And your Active Directory that we're looking at today is not your normal Active Directory.
Correct. Again, when I started thinking about what we was going to do during this session, I thought it was quite important to understand where Azure Active Directory comes from, why do we have it, and actually make sure that people don't confuse it with the on-premise Active Directory technology. So hopefully, as you can see from the slide, when we talk about on-premise Active Directory, it's actually made up of sort of 5 really key services. Normally when people say Active Directory, they're talking about Active Directory domain services, so the primary technology for user authentication, group policy management. But it also encompasses lightweight directory services, federation services, certificate services and rights management. Whereas Windows Azure Active Directory, to actually sort of give it its full title, is not really designed as an in-the-cloud version of that, other than providing sort of user account management. So it's not designed to give us group policies, so we can't go out and start to configure machines remotely. It's about being able to provide authentication services to web, cloud applications, and obviously initially it was designed to support technologies like Office 365 and provide rights management for those technologies as well. So it's very much a different service. So if you think about, we're running Active Directory on-premise today, well, Azure Active Directory is just that running in the cloud. It's not the same feature set.
You can't just tick another box for with cloud written next to it, and then you've got it fixed. Right, so that's it. Same name, different thing. Okay, before we get into this, the thing I have to remind you, please do ask questions. Usually on these sessions you ask some pretty good questions and we will answer them. We've got lots of demo coming up, and we are taking a risk today because it's a cloud thing, so we're dependent on the performance of some external services. So if we run a little bit long on some things, we'll have to cut some things out, and but hopefully it'll work. Paul's terrific at this, so he'll just cover cover. You'll never know anything has gone wrong, apart from the fact that I'll probably mention it. So that is great. So let's have a look. So what are we going to be doing first of all then, Paul?
Well, obviously, as always, first of all, praying, because obviously, as I've only discovered when arriving in the new studio that it's in a basement, so we've got to rely on our mobile signal a little bit. So first of all, I'm praying.
They keep us down here, yeah.
But to start off with, in the first demonstration, we're just going to look at how you actually provision your Azure domain once you've got your subscription, and then we'll just do some basic user and group management, both graphically, and we'll do it from the command line as well. So you'll get to see sort of both of those. On the demonstration slide, I've actually changed my demonstrations a little bit. So multi-factor authentication will come on to in the second demonstration.
Yeah, putting that one back into the second one.
We are, yes.
You have to wait for multi-factor, right?
We do, yes. Yep. And then obviously we'll have a look at multiple directories. And actually, in reality, we'll do the multiple directories first because it's a bit of an easier thing to do to start with.
Oh, you can do it in any way round you want. We trust you. So, great. Shall we crack on with the demo?
We might as well, yes, crack on with the demonstration. So we'll switch over to hopefully my laptop. And as always, we'll just start off with signing into Azure. So hopefully we can initiate that connection.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for me, it's one of these sessions that requires a lot of typing. So it's all going to go horribly wrong.
We've got you full screen on the on the broadcast this time. So any typing mistakes, Paul, then people will spot it.
Spot them, yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. And obviously, with the last event we did, we had the picture of the dining room, obviously, which my wife's still not really happy about.
That's where your server lives. Yeah.
Well, that's where the servers live. Obviously, I'm not using those today. So I'm just going to use her name and stuff here, so she'll be ready for identity theft. Okay. just to keep her happy.
Yeah, we'll move on. We'll cut that one out of the on-demand. Yeah. Definitely. Okay. So what are we doing first?
Okay. So in the Azure portal that we've got here, and obviously because I haven't got anything configured up in here, all you can see is some of the Azure Active Directory objects. But if I just scroll down to the bottom, on the left-hand side, you do have your Active Directory namespace section. So the first thing we're just going to do is just look at it actually in terms of managing directories, in terms of creating directories. So as I said, you might need to have multiple directories within Azure. So if I just press the new button in the bottom left hand corner and pick directory, I can pick a custom create. So in the dialog box, you do get asked, first of all, obviously, do you want to create a new directory, or do you want to use an existing one? So the idea of using an existing one is effectively you want to sort of change some permissions for the directory that you already have and so on. So I'm going to create a brand new one. The name of the directory is a label that you want to give the directory. I'm just going to imaginatively call it my directory in this particular instance, and then you've got the actual domain name. Now the thing to remember is the domain name needs to be globally unique. So by default, Microsoft are going to put a suffix of .onmicrosoft.com on here. So providing you actually use a name that's unique, then you should be fine within the Microsoft estate. So hopefully I've just put in Gregory Clan and it's got .onmicrosoft.com, got a green tick, so we can see that name's actually unique. The country or region allows me to then identify where I'm going to be running this. It's not where it's necessarily physically hosted, but there can be some features which might not be available to you in some countries and what have you. So, for example, hosting in China, certain features are unavailable to you.
Okay, but that's not saying where it's physically hosted.
Not where it's physically hosted. We don't really, because Azure is almost like omnipresent in the AD Azure, so it doesn't really matter where it's hosted from our point.
Okay, I understand.
Now, I particularly sort of picked this for a reason, because one of the questions we in terms of using this directory, one of the questions we often get asked is, what if I want to use my own domain name? So I don't want to use, in my case, gregoryclan.onmicrosoft.com. What if I just wanted to use gregoryclan.com or .net or whatever I'd like to do. So one of the things we can actually do, if I just go and open up a new tab, if I just jump across to my DNS provider and just sign in, hopefully with a bit of luck. Too many accounts, too many passwords. Hopefully that's remembered the correct password.
One day you're going to wake up and you won't be able to remember any of them.
Oh, I know. I just need a... Oh, that's not worked at all. Nothing like remembering passwords in your web browser.
Said that.
No. Okay, so this is just obviously where I host my DNS name. There's nothing actually running on this site at the moment. And if I was to actually just go into the domain name section, what we should be able to see is my domain name that's being hosted by GoDaddy. So I've got gregoryclan.net. So what if I wanted to use that as my name within Azure? Okay. So if I go back to my Azure portal, actually go to the directory that I've just created. Okay. What I can actually do is I can attach an additional domain to it. So when I attach domains, I can add a custom domain. So I can supply my domain name, so gregoryclan.net with a bit of luck. Okay. And when I press add, hopefully we should be able to go and do the verification step here. So what you actually get on this verification page is you have to prove that you own this effectively, so that Azure will trust that it's yours. And the way we do that is by getting you to actually go and make a change to the DNS database for that particular name.
Right, yes.
Okay, so effectively I have to go and make that change. So you can see that you can either add a text record, or it does support you adding an MX record as well if you want to. Okay, the host name's always the @ symbol, and then you'll be given effectively a text field that you have to supply. So I'm just going to take a copy of that field, and then if I go back to my domain name, okay, I can actually go and add that record. So whichever DNS service you use, Microsoft DNS or whatever technology, you would have to go and create a record for that domain. So hopefully we'll get the details come back from GoDaddy. So you've gone to sleep. Let's just give that a refresh. See if I get the page back.
This is never work with children, animals, or external services.
No, absolutely.
This is the trick with these things.
This was fine this morning, so
there we go.
Okay, so let's just try and actually go in there and edit this again. Oh, there we go, working much better now. So what I can do on the DNS zone file in my case is I can actually go and make some changes. So hopefully down the bottom here, we'll see there's an option to add a text record. Okay, so I can go and add that record. So effectively the form that I'm going to get is going to represent the question or the information that was given to me by Azure. So in the host, I can go and put in the @ symbol, the text value, I can go and put in that piece of text hopefully that I copied. Oops. Ideally actually only one copy of it, not two. Okay, so I can save that record. So I'll save those changes. Now obviously you have got, being the internet, you've got the latency of how long it takes for DNS to replicate and those changes to become established. But the idea then being, once that's all happened, if I then go back to Active Directory and press the verify button, the system should then actually be able to go and confirm my identity. Okay, so I'll then be able to use that for single sign-on processes. So I'll be able to confirm, or utilise that set of credentials against my on-premise if I want to, synchronise accounts up for my on-premise, or just use that as my suffix for my usernames inside Azure AD if I want to.
This is a fundamental first step, isn't it?
It is. If you want to use the .onmicrosoft.com, that's perfectly fine, but often people want to use a name they own, and that's a way we actually do that. And for some strange reason, I'm just very lucky today, obviously, it's successfully verified the domain actually, so it's obviously hopefully picked a correct DNS server. So I'm not going to use this directory, but just for example, if I went to the users section and actually chose to add a user, one of the things I can do in the drop-down box now is I can actually pick the domain suffix that I want to use. So I can get rid of the onmicrosoft.com if I want to.
Can I just ask you a really basic question here that's just come in? Lynn's asking, how does she get to the Azure portal?
How do you get to the Azure portal? Go to your favourite search engine and type Azure. Or you can just go to azure.microsoft.com, which would get you to that page. Yeah,
she said she goes to portaloffice.com. That's a different thing.
That's a slightly different thing because that's using the Office 365. Okay. And one thing that would be interesting, and again, I've got a link at the end of this for Lynn, because because they use maybe Office 365, they might not have an Azure subscription. They can access their Azure AD immediately.
Right.
So Microsoft have a document which tells you if you've got Office 365 and you want to get access to your Azure AD that sits behind Office 365, this is how you do it.
Yep.
So there's a link at the end which would be a lot of interest. So they'd be able to get in and manage that directory from Azure.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, so that's the sort of basic steps for creating a directory. So even when you're using on-premise, normally the first thing you then want to do is rush out and create some user accounts. Now again, if you're using Office 365, you manage that from within their portal, and you can carry on doing that. But we're effectively going to show you what's sort of happening behind the hood and how we'd manage those. So I'm going to use my a datum domain that I've already created. If I just go to the domain section so that you can see, it's just called a datum with 59s.onmicrosoft.com. Okay, so I've not got any other custom domains or anything along those lines. So again, you'll see, start off with, this is going to be pretty straightforward, pretty simple changes. So from the users panel, I'm just going to add a user, and we'll go and create a user. So a new user for your organisation, specify the username that you would like. So as I say, I'm going to pick on the wife to start with. So Leanne, so just put in what our username is going to be. So for those that have used on-premise Active Directory, you've more than likely used scenarios where you've actually typed in, for example, the domain name / the username. Active Directory has also supported the use of what we call a user principal name. So a user principal name very much looks like an email address, so it'd be your username at whatever. And again, Azure AD expects you to use that format. So what we see in this box here is going to be the complete username for the user. So hopefully I've spelt Gregory correctly. So obviously standard set of fields for supplying user information. So first name, last name, how do you want to display their name? You've then got effectively the role. So if you create someone as a user, then obviously they're just a standard user. In the role box, you'll actually see there is a global administrator. So that allows them to do anything within Azure AD.
Yeah, let's not create too many of those.
No. But I'm going to make Leanne a global administrator. Obviously, got to give the power to the wife. Obviously, power to me is an illusion.
You just leave that at home, yeah. And it's like, but Leanne is a global administrator.
She will be, yes,
right?
yeah. Obviously, billing administrator, you can see how much it's costing you. I'll skip service administrator for a moment. User administrator, obviously you can come in and manage user accounts.
Yeah.
And then password administrator, you can reset passwords for users. So the service administrator is a strange one because in a lot of ways the service administrator doesn't necessarily have any privileges. It's actually because you're using a service which is using Azure AD. So effectively, if you delegate somebody administrative power inside Office 365, they effectively become a service administrator inside Azure AD.
Right,
because they've got admin power in a service.
I see, yes.
And what they have is based on whatever that service lets them do.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. So, yes, so Leanne's going to be a global administrator. Obviously, I can supply alternate email address if I need to. And there is a box for multi-factor authentication, but we'll come back to that.
Yes.
Also, I got to supply an alternate email address for global administrators. So I'll just put in my email address there. You'll then see you get a box for creating a temporary password. Okay, so this temporary password is going to be your first password you're going to use. So I'm just going to obviously press the create button, and I'm going to sort of get the password. So I'm just going to obviously take a copy of that. And something I should have done if I was more organised was fire up a copy of Notepad, so I could have stored these passwords in them.
It's okay. It gives it this whole sort of Great British Bake Off sort of reality.
It does, yes.
Yeah. Your Notepad, yeah.
Yes, because none of this. I prepared one earlier.
Exactly.
In Great British Bake Off.
We don't have any of that at the register now.
No, so, notice as well there is a box that you can actually specify an email address if you want to email the password to somebody as well. So pretty straightforward. So pretty simple in terms of creating an account, and just because of some of the things I'll sort of want to talk about later on, I'm just going to go through that process again and just create a user that's going to be a standard user account. Okay, so my daughter's going to get a chance to be famous, so we'll put Hannah in, and see how we go. So standard user, again, ignoring the multi-factor at this precise moment. So the significant thing that there was no box to supply this email address for a standard user account. So hopefully, again, we can take a copy of that password, and I can just save that. So I've got that for later on as well. Okay, so that's creating a couple of user accounts graphically. Okay, if we go across to groups, so just like we would have groups in on-premise Active Directory, we have groups inside Azure, which again can obviously be used by the services that we're using. Groups are pretty simple here. You can effectively give the groups a name, a description. Oops, didn't press the tab enough. And you've got groups, so pretty straightforward. Once you've got a group, you can obviously go in and you can add members to the group just as you would expect with any piece of technology. So hopefully this will come back and give me a list of groups. Strange interface experience here. Just works differently to the way most interfaces. Effectively, when you select an object, they actually appear in the selected, so there's not like a tick box or something along those lines. You'd be used to sort of selecting just effectively, just as soon as you click on one, it sort of appears actually on the other side, and when you click on the other side, it removes them. And
one thing you could do to help us, Paul, actually, is a couple of people who are struggling to see very clearly the laptop screen.
Okay.
So if you make sure that it's well described when you do things.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. We'll work to make it better.
Okay, I can make it bigger.
You could, yeah.
Okay. So
that might help actually.
Yes,
I should have asked you that first.
Yes, absolutely. So let's make it look, because obviously the thing I'm always concerned about with the making it a bit bigger is sometimes it can get a bit jerky and so on.
Well, let's have a go. I think that's a price we can pay.
And if we get feedback saying it's a bit jerky, can you not do that?
Yeah, all right. So let's do that. We'll try and make that better for you. So sorry guys if you're struggling to read the text.
Okay, so hopefully that's quite a lot bigger now, so they should be able to see that. So, but it is mean as I move the mouse around, it is going to sort of move a bit.
You can handle that though, can't you?
I can handle that, but it's just if everyone else is okay with that. So it can sometimes give you a bit of a headache whizzing around a little bit as these things do.
Yeah.
Okay, so. So creating groups, again, pretty straightforward. It's going to need one more group quickly to sort of just show or actually two more groups for what I want to demonstrate. So I'm just going to create a group called marketing. So just create a, can't spell to save my life today. I guess, again, just one difference from people that are used to using on-premise AD. There's nothing about group type. No. So there's no local, global group concept. Groups can be used and created for the purpose of being distribution lists by services that might use them, but effectively the groups that we create here, we would regard as being security groups.
Right,
okay?
Yes.
But there's no sort of different types of security groups as you do get with on-premise AD. But what you can do with groups, so if I just go and add another group again, so I'll imaginatively call this one sales and marketing. What we can see when we actually work with a group, we can actually effectively nest groups. So I can put groups inside each other. So when I go to the Add Members page, okay, when you saw the screen before, I didn't talk about the show box at the top, which has users in it. If I actually change it, I can say show groups. So this will then hopefully show me the groups that I've got available. So what I could now do is I could now actually choose to add sales and marketing effectively to the sales and marketing group. So you can nest groups if you wanted to. So for standard ways that you would set sort of security up with applications, if you want to sort of nest groups together, the system would allow you to do that. So hopefully that represents sort of pretty standard user and group management that we would see with sort of on-premise AD. So similar concepts and actually a pretty similar way of setting that up.
And quite intuitive as well, yeah.
Yes. So the next thing we just want to have a quick look at is a big part of online systems is trying to automate. So trying to actually build processes that allow you to do these things far quicker with automated processes, not necessarily using the web interface, because often web interfaces can be quite slow to actually sort of navigate your way around if you've got a lot of work to do. So just using sorry, I just can't remember what the name of my script is. I've got a script here which I'm just going to talk about.
While you're typing that, just for Gary, this is available for download after the event. So if you want to watch it again, pause, go back, have a look at some of your best moments.
Absolutely,
you can do that. But actually, for this serious point, for this, it's often easier just to have a look, concentrate on what's going on now, and then you'll always get the chance to have a look at it again.
Yes,
so you can follow along with some of this configuration.
Yes, and yeah, one of the things sort of talk about at the end, you can also get a trial for Azure. So what you might actually want to do is set yourself up a trial subscription, which you could obviously have for 30 days, and then actually run
one
through
window, another window, go along with that, and set it up and have a go. Fix it in your mind. Yeah,
definitely.
Good plan.
Okay. So I hopefully got this script so that I don't have to go and type everything in, because you've seen how badly my typing is to start with. Okay.
It's not your best typing day.
No, it never is.
No.
So the first thing you'd need to do when working with Azure Online is effectively connect to your Azure subscription. Okay. So we use the Connect-MSOL service, so Microsoft Online service. So hopefully when I press enter, I'll get a credentials box pop up, and hopefully I should be able to sign in as the wife, because obviously the wife's a global administrator.
Yes.
So we should be able to use that account and hopefully not get any red. Okay, so hopefully we press OK. Or in this case, we get red. Oh, of course, I've not changed the wife's password, have I? So, it's absolutely. Oh, the laptop's falling off the table. Okay, so yes, I do apologise there. That was a complete mistake by myself. Obviously, having got the temporary passwords, I need to change those.
Change the temporary passwords.
Yes. So let's just actually sign out of Azure and sign back in. And I'll sign in as the wife, and we can see the sort of temporary password prompt. I knew I forgot to do something. So hopefully we'll sign back in, so you can see the temporary password experience. So obviously I'm going to use another account. So Gregory at datum 99999 on Microsoft.com. Obviously prompting for the password now, so I just need to go across to my my notepad so that I can get my temporary password. And hopefully we can sign in. Okay, so as you can see, pretty straightforward. Temporary password, supply the old password, supply the new password.
Yeah.
So obviously I can press submit. And then hopefully if I just zoom back out so we can sort of see the whole screen. Oh, a bit too quick. This is the joys of sometimes just these things being built in the background.
Yes. Yep.
So just try that again. I'll stay zoomed out just so it's a bit easier, which is why I actually go and sign in.
It's better to see the full screen for this, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, good approval. The text is much more readable. Thank you very much, guys, and thank you very much, Paul, for doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just got to wait for it to catch up. Just give it one more go. If not, I'll actually create the. I'll run through the script if it doesn't work this time, using my sort of administrative account that I was using before, and hopefully we'll then be able to come back to this one. Okay, so we'll go back to the script, and what I'll do is I'll use my account that I'm using. So we'll zoom back in so you can see what's going on with the script.
Can I ask a question while this is going on? Dean's asking, To create a domain name of an on-premise domain inside Azure, does the internet domain name have to be used?
Yes, your internet domain name would have to be used. So, and you'd need to obviously be able to edit that against wherever the public DNS records for that domain name are being hosted, whether you're hosting them on-premise with your own publicly facing DNS or whether it's at a service provider.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, so let's hopefully try this again. So we'll do the connect.
I don't want any red text this time.
Yeah. So I'm not very good at typing, as you know. So
it's no pressure. But you're good at configuring things.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so we can definitely cut you a break on that.
So hopefully, bit of luck, this won't give us any red text and we will get connected. Okay, so effectively...
Is that red text again?
That's red text again. Try that again.
I don't like it when you get red text. Well,
go on.
While you're typing, can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
So you don't have from
sorry.
JDA or Judah. So we don't have security distribution groups in Azure AD. How about using Exchange on premises with AD on Azure? Can you do that? Yeah.
On-premise Exchange. It depends. Ultimately, we don't have the same sort of concept of a schema and so on that you could. So you couldn't use on-premise Exchange to talk to Azure AD directly. Also, what you can do with Exchange is you can build a hybrid model.
Yep.
So you can obviously have on-premise Exchange talking to Exchange Online. And then obviously Exchange Online is backed by Azure AD, so you could do it through that model.
Yes.
Yeah, but you couldn't. You couldn't do sort of Exchange Online. Exchange on premise directly into Azure AD.
Yes.
You need that Exchange Online bit in the middle.
It is a fundamentally different idea, isn't it? It's a fundamentally different concept. Great.
Okay, so let's try again, because obviously what I did do actually for this account was I supplied the wrong address, so that was my fault the second time.
It's a good job that you can give your own tech support.
I know. So hopefully, there we. Still not letting me in. So I'm actually getting some errors from the Azure service. Okay, for some strange reason, I'm not sure. Got an exception error. Okay, so we'll just I'll just cancel that. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do this in a slightly different way. Okay, so we won't actually create the accounts, but we'll have a quick look at the actual PowerShell code that would actually do that for you. So I'm just going to open up my script. For some reason, the Connect service is failing now with an exception failure. So maybe that's again why I can't get him in Liam.
We could give tech support a call.
We could do, couldn't we?
Yeah, that for the last half hour of the show.
I can't believe it. Session 5 and the first demonstration's gone wrong. Oh well.
Oh well, never mind. But at least at least we can carry on with the story.
We can.
Yeah.
So obviously the Connect, as I was saying, so obviously that connects you in. So then to actually sort of create user accounts, we actually use the new MS OL user, so again, new Microsoft Online user. Again, you've got the user principal name, so you specify effectively the credentials that they're going to use. You've then got the display name, so all the parameters that I filled in, so first name, last name's there. And then you've actually got obviously what you like their password to be. And you've also got the force change password. Now, we'll talk about password changing in a moment once we've sort of finished this. So that's how we would create a user account. Okay. Obviously, you can use commands like get MSOL user, so you can list all the users you've got in your Azure subscription. You can also create groups. So again, we can do the new MSOL group command, which would then allow me to specify the group name. So again, for example, Azure team in my case, and I can specify a description. The one thing that sometimes is a little bit more tricky with the groups is sort of actually adding members to a group. It's a bit more sort of convoluted, because with the command, if I just scroll down in my script, Okay. With the actual command for adding members to a group, you have to use the object IDs. So you can't use friendly names.
Oh.
So it's all these numerical identifiers, which keeps you on your toes and makes life interesting.
Yes.
So I've got a couple of commands here. So the first one, which is the get MSOL group, allows me to return the group based on the group name, and I store that information in a variable. So in this time I called it $group, and we do exactly the same for the user that I want to add into the group.
Yeah.
So I've got a variable called $user, and it stores the information for the user. So therefore, when I use the add MSOL group member, what that would then allow me to do is basically use the object IDs for each of those two variables. So I can do $group object ID, $user.object ID, and it will plug those numbers in. So it's a bit more convoluted to actually add members to a group, but all those things that I did graphically, you can effectively achieve from the command line, if you can log in, of course.
Are we all right for the rest of? Are we all right for the rest of the Redcast?
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how we get on and what else might be happening. So I'll get rid of that. So that sort of gets us to the point where we've effectively created some groups, we've created some users, and we've given people some access to the system. So that sort of completes that first initial demonstration.
So that's the first bit.
Yep.
Now, sort of moving on from that, we've got you're going to add gallery applications to Azure AD. What's that?
Yeah. Okay, so the gallery is just a list of applications that are built into the Microsoft Azure service.
Right.
So these are sort of off-the-shelf objects that you can get.
For example.
So it could be Skype, it could be Blogger, lots of web services out there. Salesforce, there's lots of them out there.
Yeah.
So it could be anything from a simple web service to a very complex multi-tier application potentially. So this is obviously we're going to pick something from
your
this defined list.
infrastructure set up. Yeah, you can then plug these into
So the whole idea is we want to obviously, now we've got some users, we want them to be able to access an application. So I'm going to use, obviously, a publicly accessible application. There are ways that you can build this, and we'll go into this in more advanced sessions, where you could use this to actually allow authentication to on-premise web applications as well. So you could actually use something called federation services, so you could actually get people to authenticate with Azure AD, and then actually be able to use an on-premise web app.
Are we going to do multi-factor now as well?
And we're also going to hopefully do multi-factor.
Hang on, I've got my fingers crossed for that one.
Me too.
That requires getting a text message. We'll see how that works.
It does. So we'll switch over. We'll hopefully try and add some gallery applications, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the first thing that want to have a quick look at is if we go into the Azure user portal with a bit of luck. Okay, we can hopefully try and sign into the Azure user portal. And what I'll try and do is I'll try and sign in as my daughter's account.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully hgregory at datum 59s.onmicrosoft.com. And obviously we'll go get her temporary password. Once I've signed in again, I'll obviously I'll zoom in shortly, but so we don't need all the screen jiggling about with just hopefully signing in and changing a password. Spelled a datum wrong. Let's try again.
Scott says if he wants to use group policies to manage workstations, would you need to spin up a virtual machine to achieve this?
Absolutely, yes. You'd need to have, effectively, if you like, I don't like to use this term, but proper or on-premise AD.
Yes.
Yes, so yes, you'd need to build a virtual machine.
You can't call it proper. You can call it on-premise.
On-premise, yeah.
Proper. It undermines what you're doing now.
Yeah, it does really, especially because I'm sort of torn really, because I've always been an on-premise guy, and I've got to change.
It's the new world now.
It is. So, do I want to move into that new world? And I'm going to.
Well, you have to. It's your job.
Okay, hopefully, having signed in now, you can effectively see I've got no applications. So basically, I've just got a blank screen, effectively.
Right.
Okay. So this user can sign into Azure as a user, but there's nothing for them to be able to do. So let's give them some applications. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my Azure connection, and I'm going to sign in as my full administrator. Obviously won't risk too much with Leanne at this time. And once we get signed in, I'll zoom back in. So obviously, because I've got two accounts, obviously all this jiggling about signing in and out, it obviously confuses Azure a little bit. But hopefully we're signed in. So let's just zoom back in. And we'll come down to our Active Directory section. And we'll go into my datum domain. Okay, and across the top you can see we've got applications. There they are. Okay, so effectively what this is going to do is allow me, in my instance, effectively allow the authentication that I have in Azure AD to then actually go back and authenticate onto a back-end service. Right. Okay, so I'm going to press the Add Application. Okay, so you can sort of select something your organisation's developing, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to pick one from the gallery. Mm-hmm. So hopefully picking an application from the gallery, we will hopefully go and try and find something nice and simple to start with. So hopefully if I go and do a search for Microsoft, what I'll do is I'll just connect it back to a Windows Live account. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and again, these are really basic things that more or less everybody's going to want to do, aren't they?
Absolutely. So select the application. Okay, and that will effectively sort of build that as an application, so we can see that it's now listed in my application section. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I get this little dashboard to configure. So single sign-on is configured automatically. Okay, the time that wouldn't be configured automatically is if you're going to go back to something like an on-premise requirement, or if it's for a service and the supplier of that service requires you to do some extra work, whatever that work might be. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is just assign my users. So which users would I like to be able to use this application? Okay, so press the Assign Users button, hopefully. So I can then pick my user from the list. So obviously I'll pick on Hannah. Okay, so Hannah can actually use that application. So assign. Okay, and what I'm also going to do to enable single sign-on is I'm actually going to enter the credentials for Hannah in this instance. Okay, so again I'm just going to use my live account. So really what we're doing here is getting Azure to actually supply alternative credentials to that alternative service. Now this becomes quite important because the conversation we was having before we started, Tim, was about the fact that many years ago everyone had different passwords for every different system they accessed. And we've really just got to that point on premise where we generally regard that most applications on premise, we're getting single sign-on, so people have one password they generally need to remember.
People are getting pretty comfortable with that, and that's people know how to administer that sort of thing now. Yes.
So as soon as you start going towards cloud services, it's new passwords, and we're going back almost to that multi-password model.
Yes.
So this is hopefully one of the ways we can start to manage that a little bit.
We've got about 15 minutes to go, by the way.
Have we?
Yeah.
Okay. So excellent. So I've added my user here. So I'll leave that one. I was going to add a couple. I'll just do that one because obviously
that's why I mentioned it. By the way, your PowerShell command's available for download. Can people get hold of your PowerShell?
Email addresses at the end. If they want to email me, I'll send them to them. I'll even send them the script.
Good.
And I will have a blog article going up shortly which will have that script in it as well. So either way you can email me and I can supply those details. So if you want
Good stuff.
Please do.
Yeah, I know you're very good about these sort of things. Yeah, great.
Okay, so let's just sign out here. Okay, and obviously go back to the access panel. Okay, and I'm just going to sign out again and sign back in as my daughter. So we'll just again just zoom out again and hopefully sign in. So I always think I type 4 9s, not 5, you know, it's one of those strange things that goes through my head. Okay, so hopefully if I sign in as Hannah, if I click on your apps have been updated, okay, you can now see that object has been populated. Hopefully if I click on that object, okay, it does want me to go and install a little applet. Okay, so it's actually an application which requires me to restart my browser and so on. So the first time you do it, it takes about a minute to do, so I won't complete that. But that would then just seamlessly connect me back, and then all applications would use that one little applet. So you've only got to do that as a one-off activity for any applications you publish through this interface.
Right.
But you can now see that's now been created.
Jonathan's asking, can you have an Azure Active Directory that spans Azure subscriptions?
That spans Azure subscriptions? No, you can't. No.
No. Okay, that's good. That's a good answer. And, Dean as well. I'll do another one now. Dean says, if I want to synchronize my on-premise AD to my Azure AD, once a domain has been verified, would I need to use Azure Directory synchronization? Okay,
so we do. And there's actually a new tool that Microsoft have released, fun enough, called AAD Connect, and I've got a slide on that shortly. So we'll sort of deflect that a little bit, but we'll come to that.
Hang on for that, Dean. We'll get to you.
So hopefully I just want to try one quick last bit of my demonstration. So I just want to go through multi-factor.
Yes.
And hopefully we can see multi-factor in action. So just going to sign back into my account. So multi-factor authentication, one of the things that's quite important with Azure AD, for administrative accounts, you get multi-factor authentication effectively in the box. For users, multi-factor authentication is something you have to pay for. Okay, so effectively for users with multi-factor authentication, you can either pay based on numbers of users or number of authentications per month, depending which model you want. So it's about €1, just over €1 for 10 users per month, or it's €1, just over €1 for 10 authentications per month.
Okay, so this is a better deal, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yes, you would expect so.
You'd think so.
Yes, yes.
But yes, okay.
Yeah, so there's sort of basically the two sort of payment models.
But it's not. There's not an all-in-one at this level. There's not an all-in-one.
Not all-in-one. It's something you pay for. Yeah, we'll talk about Azure Premium very quickly in a moment.
Ah, yes, of course.
So if I just go to my users, now we'll just go and look at obviously my administrative user. Hopefully that will work. If I come down to my user, hopefully if I come down to the bottom somewhere, sorry, not there. Activity. I just need to zoom out a little bit so I can do it. Sorry, not activity. Let's go back to my user accounts where I need to go and select my user, and then the multi-factor button down the bottom. Sorry. Yes. Okay, so if I jump into the multi-factor, I can select my user account that I want to enable multi-factor for. Okay, so I'm going to enable multi-factor. You can use apps on your mobile device, stuff like that, as well as obviously being able to use multi-factor to actually send text messages.
Text message code is, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most people seem to be using text message code, don't they?
They do, yeah. So they're the things that you can actually use with the technology. So that's how we would enable multi-factor for a user. Okay, so I've actually gone and made the changes. Or for an administrative user, if you wanted to make multi-factor support for non-administrative users, okay, you do actually have to go back to the top level here, and there's a multi-factor authentication provider, and that option's where you actually set up the licensing mode that you want to use, and plus you can also set up a load of auditing elements.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So the idea then, hopefully, if I sign out, this is if it's going to sign in with. Yeah, and we'll give this a go, is you should be able to go through the setup process for multi-factor authentication when you first sign in. Okay, so hopefully try and see if I can sign in now. Okay, so you see I've got the prompt that basically additional security verifications required. So I can say that I'd like to set this up now. Okay. So effectively, authentication by phone, but you can see you can do app and stuff that's on the list. So you specify where you are. So obviously I'm in the United Kingdom. Oops, that's not United Kingdom. and obviously plug in your telephone number. So I'm famous, and I'm going to obviously say send me a text message.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously you can do the voice dial. So hopefully when I press verify now, what should now happen is I should get a text message come through to my phone and say we've got a bit of a signal issue down here, so we'll actually see if that actual message comes through. We'll wait and see.
I'm quite tense. Can we get? Jonathan's got another question.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. On this, he's saying also similar to Dean, who we asked a question earlier. He syncs his on-prem AD to Office 365.
Yep.
So what would be the best route to get his Active Directory that he's using now into Azure? Is it from the already synced with Office 365 method, or direct from convert his on-prem to Azure AD?
It will actually already be in now. It's just it doesn't manage it through that way. So actually the directory behind Office 365 is Azure AD. So again, the link we've got at the end will show you how you can go into Azure AD and manage that.
Oh, I imagine that's probably quite good news. Yeah.
Yep.
Great, excellent.
Okay, so hopefully if you can see on my computer screen, I've actually got a little applet that connects to my phone, and you can actually see I've got the text message through, which actually shows me what the code is. So hopefully if I go and plug that code in, so 224512, and just press verify, that would now complete my multi-factor authentication setup. So now effectively, any time that I try to sign in, it will actually go through the multi-factor approach. So I will now, when I try to sign in, it will actually send a text message to my phone. The code I then have to type in, and away I go.
Much more important in the cloud world, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So that would be the sort of basic steps. For some strange reason, I still can't access my subscription, but I don't know why that's going on now.
Yeah.
So that sort of was the multi-factor setup. So I guess we've got a couple of things to finish off.
So we've got a couple of things to finish up on this, yeah, because we've got about 10 minutes here. We've covered we've covered quite a lot of stuff, so that's fine. Now, Azure AD Premium, this is the thing that you pay extra for, yeah?
This is the thing you pay extra for. So this is a value-add service, effectively. So what do you get with it? Obviously, why would you pay extra money? So first and foremost, obviously the login pages that I've been using are all Microsoft branded.
Yeah.
So first of all, you have the ability to brand all of those. You can put your own graphics up there, titles, company name, company logo, all those sorts of elements. So you can give people a consistent look and feel on the landing page. Group-based application access. So when I actually enabled applications to those galleries, I could only enable applications on a per user basis.
Right.
So if I wanted,
clearly not going to be practical.
So obviously, certainly if you've got an application where you want to use a single set of credentials for large numbers of users, you could put them in a group and attach that information to the group, which would be better. Self-service password reset. Users lost their password, forgot their password, don't have to call help desk. There's a self-service reset capability. And also self-service group management. So you do have the ability for people to add themselves to certain groups if you wanted to. So you could make services optionally available to them, and they can then get those groups by saying, yes, actually I want that, and I'll add myself to that group.
Yep.
A lot more reporting. There are some reports that you do get in the box, but there's a lot more reporting about who's doing what, the services that are being used, all those sorts of things. The interesting point is the fact multi-factor authentication.
It's back again.
It's back again.
We've already got multi-factor.
And I've just done it, and I said we can pay for it. So effectively with Azure AD Premium, you do get multi-factor in the box. So you don't need to pay that extra license for authenticating your users.
So when you get AD Premium, as much multi-factor as you want.
As far as I believe.
All you can eat multi-factor.
All you can eat multi-factor.
All right. Yes.
Okay. You also get licenses for Forefront Identity Manager. So you can use that for help managing your on-premise identity, as well as obviously identity in Azure. And I guess obviously with recent events, an SLA, which might be obviously quite prudent.
Recent events, yes. Azure, there was a problem with it.
There wasn't a problem, yes, last week.
Last week. What happened?
Well, effectively, and I think Microsoft and what we learned quite a painful lesson this way, in the fact that they had some updates for Azure sort of across the board, really, which was going to have a big improvement on the way they interact with their storage, and therefore there's going to be big performance improvements. Obviously, went through lots of testing. And normally what Microsoft do with updates is they roll them out regionally. But they felt the benefits of this update was so great that actually they were going to go big bang and roll it out. And actually it then exposed a bug, which took a bit of time. So obviously that was... And the worst thing about it really from our point of view as consumers of the technology is not only was the bug there, but it also meant that in order to remove the bug, a large number of the systems had to be restarted in Azure. So the implication of that was, in terms of removing that change, was quite great. So we had some interesting fun on training courses that we was running that week, which were all tied to Azure and so on. So yeah, we felt the pain. Yes,
I'm actually probably do. We've got about 5 minutes left, Paul. Do we have? I know you've got some more demonstrations you can do. Do we have time to do them?
I suspect not, because
yeah, because we've got tons of questions as well.
Okay, and obviously because there was obviously the question about the hybrid model.
Yes.
And obviously I think we've got a slide on. So if we can skip, so we got a slide on sort of the AD Connect technology.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth just because obviously there was that question.
Go through that. Yes. Let's deal with that properly, and we'll do some questions if we've got time left after that. Yeah.
Okay, no problems. Okay, so some of you, especially those that have been using, for example, Exchange Online and Office Online, that have been synchronizing their Active Directories, they would have used maybe a tool called DIRSync, D-I-R-Sync. Effectively, what Microsoft are now doing is making the whole synchronization process much, much simpler. So there's a new piece of technology coming along, Azure Active Directory Connect. So this is a very simple wizard. So first of all, a lot of people have had problems setting up technologies like federation services. It can be quite complex understanding what you've got to do. This is one wizard, and it will go and remotely configure all the systems that you need on your network to go and build your identity. So it will do effectively what's known as password sync. So it will take your accounts that you have on-premise, it will copy those up, and it will also copy the passwords up. But it will also do the multi-server. So this is where you actually keep the authentication on-premise. So you've got your user objects up in the cloud, but when someone logs in, Azure effectively contacts your on-premise technology, and then you validate the credentials. Now this has actually always caused a little bit of a problem, because if there's a failure in the connection between Azure and your on-premise, whether it's in Azure, whether it's a networking problem, or whether the actual failure is on your premise, okay, you're stuck. People can't log in anymore. Okay, so one of the things that Microsoft have also done with this technology, which is quite an important change, is you can actually use the multi-server federation server model where people authenticate against you, but also have the password stored in the cloud. So if your on-premise breaks for some reason, you can start to get people authenticating just in the cloud. So we won't actually expect to be able to connect back to your on-premise. We'll authenticate all the users you've got registered there, and all the cloud services that they're using, they will be able to carry on using, which they can't do today. If that breaks, stops. In terms of that feature, it is something that's sort of in preview at the moment. So at the moment, the switchover takes about 3 hours to actually go from sort of this managed to sort of non-managed. With the some changes that Microsoft are hopefully making in the next few months next year, you'll be able to switch in 5 minutes. So the downtime
that's going to make a difference.
Big difference. And the other thing, which is this also going to start to provide the ability for, and again, this is where you get Azure Premium, is actually write back. So changes that occur inside Azure AD can be written back to your on-premise. Whereas again, with DIRSync, it's all the other way. Changes are pushed out, but not written back in.
Yeah. Now we literally have about a couple of minutes left, less than that actually. We've got a whole bunch. You can get hold of this presentation as well for these links, because there's quite a lot here as well, isn't there? But the free trial is important, isn't it?
The free trial is important. And also, again, the other one is because we've been a couple of questions about in terms of sort of managing your accounts. We've actually got the Have Office 365. So this is how you manage your accounts in Azure from Office 365.
We've even got some more questions about that. A lot of people are thinking about that.
Okay.
So that's a good thing.
Again, obviously, if they want to email me, we can certainly have a conversation. So my email address is up there.
That's it, because we have a couple of questions we haven't had time to get to, and I imagine that these are maybe some things that you've come across before and we can pick up again. I would encourage anyone that's been done this and wants to have a look at some more, go along to your blog, Paul, and indeed go along to your YouTube channel, because you do give some stuff for free. Or indeed come along to a QA training session, because normally you take a whole day to do this, don't you?
Well, yes, absolutely. And obviously, we actually have a 5-day course just going through the infrastructure as a service and the IT Pro features of Azure. So obviously, Azure AD is part of that, but we'll look at obviously VMs and SQL and web hosting and all those other elements as well.
Right.
So please come on a training course. Might see you there.
Well, we're out of time, Paul. Thank you very much for that. And man versus technology today.
Yes. Yeah.
And so thank you very much for all your questions and for watching. We hope you've given you a flavour of Azure Active Directory. There's plenty more to do, and so Paul will help you with that through other channels. Meanwhile, I've been Tim Phillips. I'm from the Register. Goodbye.